Board of Park Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the record show that all members are present except Karen Galvin. If everyone has had a chance to review the minutes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I think we're going to switch things up in the agenda. So,
Okay, I'll make an introduction, but first I'll make a little announcement from the City Council so you kind of understand the monies and what's in front of you tonight. The council updates, the City Council requested $1,200,000 to be set aside out of the Food and Beverage Fund for 2021. The council asked to the Parks Commission to spend the money on the capital improvements list, which we had met with the City Council way back last year. The council also thanks the Commission and the Parks Department for everything everyone does to make our parks the nicest park in the area. Yeah, that was nice. The Lebanon City Council would like to request that $500,000 be set aside out of our sanitation fund for the Lebanon Park Commission and the Parks Department for the calendar year of 2021 as a matching grant. The council requests of the Parks Commission to work with the city engineer Kevin Krulik to help build the Stoneeater Bike Trail at our former city landfill. The council wishes this as a matching cash grant not to exceed $500,000 from the fund. That means no in-kind work where they bring dirt in and that's $250,000. It has to be cash for cash. So they'll match anything that we raise for the Stoneeater Park. The council understands that there is a group of city employees working together to raise these funds for this project. We ask that this group work through the park board and the department because this facility will come under the maintenance of the Parks Department, so we believe they should be involved in the decision process. And I'm going to grab my glasses. Excuse me. Somebody's really getting old. My arms aren't long enough. Sorry about that. The council also requests that any donations received for the construction of Stoneeater Bike Trail be turned into the clerk's office. We ask the clerk to determine if these funds should be in Stoneeater Park, revolving fund in the Parks Department so they can be available for the department to use as needed. That happened today. The clerk treasurer office did have some donations that were brought by the city engineer down to them. So now we do have a line item if everything goes that direction. In conjunction with the council decision to pay for DLZ design, the engineering department remains diligent in the pursuit of the next level trails grant funding. COVID halted the process in 2020. The grant opportunity is available in 2021, and we're very optimistic about that. What that trails grant is for, the council set aside other monies for that. And that will be the connectivity of the Big Four Trail from downtown all the way to Abner and through Abner-Longley Park. So we'll be able to go from one side of town all the way through, connecting from there. So it'd be all the way from Colfax all the way to the fairgrounds. We'd be connectivity. DLZ, out of that $1.2 million, $395,000 went to DLZ. That's an engineering firm to design that part of it. So out of the $1.2 million, $400,000 is already set aside for that. That's what the council had set aside. Any questions? I ran over that pretty quick. Any questions with that? $1.2 million was set aside, $400,000 went to DLZ for bike pedestrian expansion, connectivity from downtown through Abner-Longley. The rest of it we're supposed to do with our park projects. Right at the top of the list is our lighting and our playground. Those are the two we'll attack. We already have Well, I have it in your packet there, and I can go over that later. I've asked Deb Schmucker to come tonight. I have miscommunication with our city engineer. He was going to be here to answer questions on Stoneeater Park. As far as that goes, I don't know if you want to table this, but Deb can give you what she was requested to do, and that's work on an amendment for the landfill. What that amendment will do, I'll let Deb discuss that and go through what has to happen if we're going to go forward with making that mountain bike park.
John, real quick, that
Yes, sir.
$395,000, is that a one-time payment? I
That
assume-
395?
Engineering,
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
So we don't have anything else after that to them?
As far as that, there'll be construction. That's what that grant, that other grant, we didn't get it last year because of COVID. The county council, that would not come out of our $1.2 million. The county council has already said they'll match it out of food and beverage, which is quite a substantial, and I think we're pretty excited. I think that'll happen, and that will be for the construction after the design is done to go forward with that.
Okay.
Some work on the trail all the way to Thorntown. There's discussions with helping with the matching grant too, with the rails to trails people. So the engineering department, Derek Warren, Ben, Kevin have all been working on that pretty hard. Really appreciate all their grant writing and staying diligent on it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Have you heard from Kevin?
I have not. I'm going to text him here in a minute and see. I apologize for that. Deb can go ahead if you want her to go ahead and explain that. Also, Deb is helping us with our lighting project and also the playground. We'll present that to you before we roll it out. My thoughts were I'd even go to a few grade schools, see if they like those type of things. Just that something popped up in my head to make sure. We're going to try and hit the age group from 3 to 10 years old. The reporter was really nice to put an article on the front page of the paper the other day about a couple of our projects. Really excited about that, but we have quite a few projects which I'll go over in my director's report on that. But I'll introduce you to Deb Schmucker. She helped do our master plan, and for us to go forward, Deb will explain all that. And Deb Schmucker from Cornerstone.
Thanks, John. So late last fall, John, Derek, and Kevin kind of tag teamed me and said, hey, this Stoneeater Park's coming up, and we'd like to get that included as an amendment in the 5-year master plan, which you guys adopted. How long ago has that been, John? 4 or 5 years ago?
It's been at least 3.
Yeah.
It's been at least 3, and I think John and I were talking, I think it expires coming up next year maybe. Anyway, so in order to do that, and part of the reason that Derek and Kevin were trying to think ahead was they wanted to make sure that you as a park commission had at least adopted and acknowledged that as a part of the park system, because at some point if they're going after grants, they need to have that included in their 5-year master plan. So what I did was basically prepare documents, and if we can throw that up on the screen. So I pretty much just put it into the format of the existing 5-year master plan. So this is just a short, and as you can see, a very brief description. It shows the locator map so that you can see where the park would be up there northeast of town. And then we took the design development plan that was created through that public process when they were working, when the planning department, the city engineer were working on that, and we incorporated that in to the document so that at a point when you're ready to include that, you can basically take this amendment and just pass it, and it would just become an amendment that would become a part of your master plan. And again, the reason for that was they were trying to think through potential grant opportunities, and one of those is the Land and Water Conservation Grant that DNR is in charge of putting out there. I think since then they've gone maybe a different direction with some of their funding sources, but they wanted to make sure they had this ready to go so that if they needed it, all of a sudden there wasn't an issue of, oh, well, it's, that was 4 years ago and it's not included in your 5-year master plan. So that is the reason for the document. The other thing that I did this page just is the page that identified all the different park properties within the community. And this one was updated to reflect that addition to the park as well, in case someone asked about that. So that's really the purpose for me being here, was just to show you those at the time that I'm sure you have questions for the city engineer regarding the Stoneeater Park. And he's on his way, so there we go.
Okay.
I do have a question for you, Deb.
Sure.
You mentioned about the 5-year plan is about to expire, so what does that mean?
That means that it will be time for us to redo it again and bring it up to speed with, for example, like you're in the process of doing the bike ped plan and incorporating that in the new projects, and that's pretty normal. They expire it's really every 6 years, but it's 5 full years, so it's like you count, the 5 full years that it's been in effect. So, and speaking of Kevin, there he is now.
Yeah.
I've got your map right up here for you in case you want it. So in any event, that just means that we'll start that process probably about 6 to 9 months before it's ready to go. And John and I just kind of actually casually talked about that the other day. So now it's all you. I prepped them for what the amendment is when they're ready for it. So now you can answer all the rest. I've got a map of the bike. Great. If you want to leave that up, you're more than welcome.
Well, first of all, my apologies. John and I talked about this a few weeks ago and forgot to put it on my calendar and completely forgot until I'm watching the live feed at home and realize I'm supposed to be there. Oops. So, yeah, so I'm extremely excited. Thank you for your help in making this amendment happen. Thank you for John and the rest of the staff and their work in this, and obviously Deb's involvement has been critical. Not a lot has changed about the park since I first introduced it to you, although that might seem like 10 years ago, but it was just before we all started quarantining for COVID. I'm happy to walk through in details. I guess I want to be aware and cognizant of your time and be respectful there. I can talk about it for quite some time, or we can give you a brief overview, or I can just answer questions you might have.
What is everybody?
Can you kind of walk through
I was
the,
going to say brief overview.
Yeah,
Maybe, just to bring everybody up.
I always look over there when we're going on 52, and I'm like, I can't conceptualize it yet.
Yeah.
So that would be helpful, I think.
Absolutely. So maybe if I can, let's see. Yeah, if we can put it up on the screen, then you can, yeah, that looks good up there. Thank you. So this is the Stoneeater Park. This is located on US 52, 4005 US 52, immediately adjacent to the Trophy Club Golf Course. Trophy Club Golf Course is located along the east side, with the exception of the Deatons that live there sort of in that cutout you see. But immediately east of the Deatons and along the rest of our easterly line is the Trophy Club Golf Course, and then it goes along the south side of the park as well. I should also mention that we've been working a lot with Trophy Club Golf Course. We really wanted to be respectful of them and respectful of what they do. And I'm happy to report we've had a very good rapport so far. We're working out all the details on a relationship between the two park facilities, if you will, and how we might work together. All I can say is so far we've been met with excitement from the Trophy Club course. Excitement in the opportunity of partnering with them. I've reached out to them of can we figure out a way where we can connect our trails to their golf cart path just south of our south line. Can we promote using your restrooms and your locker room facilities in our bike park facility? And they have obliged us there. They've even went so far as us cross-promoting with them for various different events. Who knows, there may be some sort of, new age biathlon event where you're going to mountain bike and play 18 holes. I don't know. But, the sky's the limit. Obviously, they are very interested in us promoting their food and beverage opportunities as we begin to promote the park. The opportunity to take a ride there and have a beverage or a sandwich afterwards. The opportunity to use the restroom, use their clubhouse. They're even willing to consider allowing us to put small bike repair items in their pro shop. So you could pick up a new inner tube if you needed it, or some tire sealant, or whatever those small repair items that might be that really can kill your ride if you're there and something goes wrong. So we've been very pleased with their receptiveness in working with us to create those cross-promotional opportunities. But let's talk more about the park. So the park in general, as we talked about, one of the other partnerships we're really proud of is a partnership with the National Interscholastic Cycling Association, or NICA. They are the national governing body for youth mountain bike racing. So this would be the first facility of its kind built from the ground up for the type of riding and racing that they promote. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean it's it's not a park. It's very much a park, very much open to the public. But there's also a trail system there that will be designed to meet their riding criteria. So they can quickly come in and host events there. And we're not talking about a ridiculous amount of events. We're talking about, probably one race a year, maybe two, that would involve them actually using the mountain bike trail for an event. But we will design a trail system that meets their criteria, design infrastructure that will allow them to come in and plug and play and host an event there. And then obviously we'll have large grass fields that for the most part will just look like prairie grass, but when we need it, those can be used as overflow parking for those events. In the day-to-day operation though, we're talking about a trail system that will be approximately 5 miles long. This is a trail system that is a natural surface. It will be built with a combination of the native clay materials that we see in the county, along with a mix of stone materials. And that's really important that we build that cross-section with the stone, so it is very much a very durable surface. It's not going to require a lot of maintenance. It's also going to be rideable in wet weather. That's one thing that plagues a lot of mountain bike trails is they have to close down when you have wet weather because the bikes will damage the trail. We're trying to build a cross-section that will allow this to be rideable 365 days a year. So that's another innovation that we're trying to build into this. When a lot of other trails are closed, Stoneeater Park will be open for business. So we like to say that the trail cross-section that we're building, while it promotes that youth mountain bike racing, what it does is also makes it very family friendly. This is not an extreme mountain bike course. This will be something that I feel confident in saying everyone in this room will be able to ride, and you'll be able to ride it with your kids and grandkids. If you can ride a bike, you're going to be able to ride this trail. It's not going to be extremely difficult. So this is for the novice rider, the beginning rider, the family that wants to go out and enjoy a unique outdoor recreation opportunity.
They don't have to have special tires on their bikes on that surface?
Well, I would recommend they have some sort of an off-road bike, which most bikes sold nowadays are not the old 10 speeds maybe that we grew up with the skinny tires. They still sell a lot of those, but those are more relegated to the road riding or track riding. Most of the bikes that people ride nowadays and buy nowadays are some form of mountain bike or hybrid bike that is made to be taken off-road. So it's not something really special that you have to buy. I would say 75% of the bikes on the market will meet this criteria. Also, the other things that meet the criteria would be things like BMX bikes. Some of the first bikes you probably buy for your children are BMX style bikes. Those would be able to immediately go onto this trail system and perform well. So there is that novice level to intermediate level trail system that everyone can ride, is built to be able to host those racing events when they happen. Family friendly, very oriented towards that. But then we also have what we refer to as the bike park features. So the bike park features allow you to also meet a various levels of riding. There'll be a kids track, which will be a small track that will just allow kids, even the small kids that are just on the bikes that don't have pedals, the the Strider bikes or those types of bikes where you're just, the kick bikes, if you will, where you're just moving your legs on the ground and rolling the bike along. So we'll have a small trail that will go around in like a figure eight track, where they'll be able to go up and down some small hills, have a lot of fun. The next step up is what we would call a pump track, which is just a little bit bigger scale, and it's more geared towards, you can see my cursor there. So the kids track is right down here in this southwest corner of what is the overall bike park area. The next step up is the pump track. So again, just a little larger scale. This is more for, your teenagers through adults can ride that. Again, not difficult to ride, but a lot of up and down terrain, nice, smooth, flowing back and forth trails that are really popular right now. In the middle is something a little more advanced, where there'll be some larger up and down features that you will even be able to create some jumps on. Not something that you would be required to jump. They would be really rideable so that you could ride over these areas. But for the more advanced riders, it is an ability for them to do some jumping. And then in this area over here is really what we'd call our skills park. So this is going to be where we'll simulate things like rock features, like log rides, like skinnies, where you have to really be able to ride on a very narrow path, things of that nature, balance beams, stuff like that. Again, at a low height, thinking about safety at all times, but that's what this would be. This would be the skills area. So we'd have everything from the novice level cross-country trails that meet the NICA requirements up to these expert level skills features. And what we're really creating then is a park that you can, that if you're interested in biking, can take you from your entry-level rider all the way up to your expert-level rider and everything in between. So it'll be really something that we could see as a park that will allow you to learn, to grow, to train, and then obviously to explore and to race as you're ready for that. We've already had some really obviously unique partnerships. I've already mentioned the Trophy Club. I've mentioned the partnership with NICA. We've also are working on partnerships with the Hoosier Mountain Bike Association. They have told us, we haven't seen the details yet, but they are going to make a financial donation to the park, as well as be a partner in the terms of long-term development and maintenance of the facility. They are the primary mountain bike advocacy group for the state of Indiana. Other partners that have came forward is Sally Marchand Collins, who grew up just a few miles up the road here, and parents still own property adjacent to the park. Sally operates the Sundance Mountain Bike Skills Clinic, which does mountain bike skills clinics and group rides all over the country, but is located here in Indiana. And she's signed up to be our instruction partner, if you will, to hosting. She's committed to hosting 3 to 4 training events or group rides at the facility throughout the year. Other partners would include Lebanon Community School Corporation. Because of the trail cross sections I mentioned, it's a novice, entry level to intermediate level riding. It also means that you could run along that trail. And we would foresee all these trails being multi-purpose. This isn't going to be about bikes only. You'll be able to walk on these trails. You will be able to run on these trails. We'll probably have some rules set up to try to help protect people, meaning primarily bikes would go one direction, any pedestrians would go the opposite direction so that we have good visibility. So we'd have that opportunity for the other sports, hiking and walking and running, that would be able to use the facility. But the Lebanon Community School Corporation is also very interested in using this as their cross-country facility. They don't have great cross-country facilities right now. If you've had a kid in cross-country programs, you know they basically run around the middle school and high school, across the parking lots, around the middle school soccer fields and baseball fields. It's not a great facility. In fact, last year, the last couple of years, they can typically only have 1 or 2 home meets because of their course layout. So they're very interested in being able to have a facility that is set up for cross-country running without all the crossings of streets and parking lot areas, so that they can have larger events, can have multi-team events, possibly even be hosting sectional or larger events there. So really excited. And really what this means for us is just during the cross-country season, when the bike trail itself is between 4 and 12 feet wide, depending on where you're at, of that mix of gravel and dirt. It will also have a grass strip down either side. During the cross-country season, we would mow that grass strip a little wider to accommodate the runners. They would prefer to run on grass, not on any kind of a solid surface, even if that surface was dirt and stone. So we're excited about that partnership. Other partnerships, Midwest Devo is a local youth cycling racing team that operates out of Zionsville, has about 70 kids that participate in that program. They primarily are riding cross-country, or primarily riding road bikes and gravel bikes, or cyclocross as they would call it. And they currently train at 3 other facilities around the city of Indianapolis. They are very interested in naming Stoneeater Park as another training venue that they will intermittently use throughout their training season. And then last but certainly not least, Marion University. If you're not familiar with Marion University, just down the road in Indianapolis, Marion University cycling programs are huge, top 10 in the nation. They are a very competitive cycling program at the collegiate level, and they are very interested in using this as, again, one of their alternate training venues for their teams. And that would possibly include finding a way to help us see larger, possibly even collegiate level events at the facility. But again, so there's been a ton of interest in the park. There's just a ton of interest nationally on cycling and cycling sports. It is right now actually more people cycle than play soccer. It's something most people probably wouldn't figure, but this sport is actually just slightly bigger than soccer right now, and is growing, and has been growing by leaps and bounds even through the COVID situation of last year, and that we're still obviously in. So NICA themselves have seen still double-digit percentage increases in their ridership even through last year. So it's a sport that's growing. It's a sport with a lot of opportunity. It's a great active family opportunity for us, and it's an opportunity for us to build a park, yes, for our community, but also to create a cycling hub for the region, and possibly a larger venue that would be used by the entire Midwest. So really it's a facility that could put Lebanon on the map, not unlike what Grand Parks they did for the city of Westfield. This could be a similar type of facility that will bring in those kind of revenue generator opportunities for the county and the city, and just create a really unique atmosphere here in Lebanon, and set us aside, showing that we are dedicated to active family lifestyles and recreation, and just one more feather in our cap that we're really excited to move forward with. So I think I've probably covered all the sort of the basics, and the why the bike park and who else is involved. Again, very excited to keep moving this forward. Excited to see this adopted, or see your consideration for adopting it into your master plans. And if I can answer any more questions, I'd be happy to.
No, thank you, Kevin. I have a few questions. That, we've discussed this project before, and I think it's very exciting, and I'm really excited for it. But I've done a little research. It's not a bad but I've done a little research, and I would like to see something detailed from IDEM, because of the fact that it's the landfill.
Yes.
And, and also it struck me, because reading your emails, I thought, okay, that's great for cross-country, but does that mean anything different? If we do something like that, does that involves something different from IDEM. I'm looking
Yeah.
for what IDEM says, it's okay, this is great, you can do
Yeah.
it. And on further, I want IDEM to say, this is what you need to do through the process and after the process. Like,
Right.
do we have to test? Do we have to do this? Can we not mow this? Can we do this? I know, I'm sure we can't dig. I
Yeah,
would,
let me talk a bit about that. I could probably, let me give you where we're at with IDEM in a nutshell. I
Okay,
think it'll
that would
probably
be
answer
great.
that question and a lot of others, and maybe a lot of concerns for others in the room or others at home listening. Obviously, this is a closed landfill.
Right.
The city operated this landfill since the mid-1950s, and it was officially closed in the mid-'80s. Since then, it was allowed to just basically grow up natural. Over the years, since then, there were some times when the street department would use the area for the dumping, I guess, if you will, of leaf and storm debris as it came up. No additional trash dumping, but there was some additional storm debris, vegetation that was put out there. Actually, the city was reprimanded by IDEM for doing that, and that all had to be removed. So that has been cleaned up, and that was a few years back when that happened. So it is a closed landfill. It is a landfill that was operated much different than a lot of landfills. You're probably familiar with the landfills you might see around the state that are huge mountains of trash that is covered over with dirt. This was a type of strip landfill where they would dig pits in the ground, long linear pits. They would push the trash in. Some of you maybe even remember being there
Oh, yeah.
when you were younger. They would push the trash in, and then they would take the dirt that they dug out of that pit and push it back over the top. So when it was closed, we were required to certify to IDEM that there was at least 2 foot of clay material compacted over the top of any buried solid waste. And so what we did is we beginning to look at this project and work with IDEM, and IDEM has an adaptive reuse program in place just for landfill facilities. They're really trying to promote, since the mid-'90s, nationwide, there's been a lot of promotion of reusing of landfills, especially for recreation opportunities. A couple of cases in point, Lebanon, Ohio has a Lebanon bike park built on top of a landfill. Very similar in scale and scope to what we're trying to do. Munster, Indiana has a golf course built on top of a former landfill. So, and there's dozens of these nationwide. So this is a program that they very much are promoting. To go back to the details of how do we keep everybody safe? One, we have done an exhaustive search of the site with our environmental consultants, looking at everything from any trash that may be still left and found on the surface to water that may be running off of the surface to any gas that might be escaping from the decomposing buried solid waste. On the gas side, we found no evidence of any gas escaping from the facility. So this is an important thing for IDEM. We also found that none of the water that we see coming off of the site seems to be contaminated. We also dug dozens, I think over 60 test holes around the site to confirm the limits of where the trash was buried. Those things also confirmed how much cover was over the top of the trash. In all 66 or so of those test holes, we found between 2 foot, which is the required minimum, and 5 foot of compacted clay over the top of the trash. So what do we do from here? One, there's been a lot of settlement over the years. There's a lot of standing water if you were to go out to the site in various locations. So one of the things that IDEM is going to require is that we eliminate any of that standing water. So they're going to want us to come in with clean clay fill, place that over the top of the landfill area so that the water drains off cleanly and doesn't have any opportunity to sit over the solid waste and possibly infiltrate down into the groundwater. That's very important for IDEM. So that is part of our adaptive reuse plan that we've submitted to them. It's going to require us to bring in approximately 100,000 cubic yards of dirt. And what it's going to do is it's going to create, in the middle of the site, where we will crown the middle of the site, so that all the water flows off at a 1 to 2% rate. So it will drain very well and keep the water from sitting over the top of any of the solid waste. So with that crowning, we're going to create another 2 to 5 foot of fill on top of the 2 to 5 foot of fill that's already there. We also will come in and we will have to do an exhaustive search of the site, picking up any surficial trash. There's not a lot, but there is some areas where we found concrete or some building materials. Nothing that I would classify as, your household garbage, but there is some superficial solid waste. That will all have to be picked up, put in dumpsters, taken to a open solid waste facility before we strip the site of vegetation, crown the site with 100,000 cubic yards of dirt, leaving the buried trash buried at 4 to 10 feet below the final surface that we will be riding, walking, and running on. So that's going to protect it. We also then have to put in place programs where we will inspect the site on a regular basis. Because we're doing off-road, riding, they want to make sure that any of the riding doesn't rut up the ground and expose any of the buried solid waste. So on a regular basis, we'll have to inspect everything, make sure that no trash is ever exposed. Again, I'm not sure how it would be. We're not allowing any motorized vehicles on the site, so it's just bicycles. So to think a bicycle is going to tear a rut into 4 to 10 feet of buried clay, pretty hard to believe. So I think that will protect us. The other thing that we'll do will be constantly monitoring any leachate that may be seeping out of the landfill, constantly monitoring for any gas evidence that is escaping from the landfill, and putting those in our reports that we will have to file with IDEM on a yearly basis. This is all in this adaptive reuse program that we spent, we spent about 6 to 8 months last year working with IDEM to make sure we incorporated everything that they wanted to see into this program. It even goes so far as to say, what happens if a tree falls down? What happens if a tree falls down? Well, it has to be inspected quickly, and we have to look and see if the roots tore up any trash. But if you remember, we're removing the vegetation, crowning the site with clay material, so there's not going to be any of the old existing vegetation. Now, we are allowed to put some trees back, but we have a very specific tree planting criteria that are all shallow root growth trees where the roots will grow no deeper than 2 feet into the ground. Not to mention, they'll be growing on top of compacted clay, which is going to further prohibit them from growing any deeper. But we do have to have that program in place. What happens if a tree falls over? It'll have to be inspected to make sure that it didn't pull up any expose any trash. So again, I would say there's an exhaustive program in place that we're going to have to continually monitor this site. The city engineer would be the one responsible for monitoring, filing these reports with IDEM on a yearly basis, and looking for any of those potential problem areas. Obviously, we will be working with John and the rest of the park staff to correct those issues if they come up. But again, I bring you back to, we're going to clean up the site, remove any existing trash, clear cut the site, raise the site. All the garbage that's been buried there from 1955 to 1987 will be buried under a minimum of 4 foot to 10 foot of compacted clay. So I think all that combined, I can safely say this is going to be a safe place for your kids to be, whether they're running or biking or walking, and there's not going to be any real risk of exposure to that buried solid waste. Our plans do include, as part of your question, the idea is that we will use the facility for biking, hiking, walking, and running. So we've covered all those issues as well. Again, IDEM has been very receptive. They were very excited to work with us. As I said, we spent about 6 to 8 months having meetings with them, crafting exactly what our plan would look like. We made our final submittal to them, our formal submittal to them on December 16th, and we are expecting to hear back from them by February 16th. That's their statutory limit on how long they can take to review our permit applications. But again, we've seen no red flags, and again, we only submitted what we knew they would accept. You know, if you would have asked me a year ago, would we be bringing in 100,000 cubic yards of fill and cutting down all the trees? Absolutely not. But these are all there to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public.
Okay, so this is all documented from them, that this is what
Absolutely.
you have to do. Okay, okay, because I just, well, I'm still not over the hot pond, so that's why I go back to.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the hot pond. Yeah, I think there was some material that was taken up there that we had to subsequently remove and take somewhere else.
Right, and then.
And again, it was, if you ask item, it wasn't that we took material there.
No.
Is that we took material to a closed landfill without their permission.
Right,
We are doing this very much above the board and with their permission and with their acceptance.
Right,
On how we
okay.
would operate the facility.
and then, have you had any feedback from the neighbors besides Trophy Club?
You know, we had in late February of last year, just about a year ago, we had a major sort of day of meetings to talk about the bike park, where we brought in a lot of bike park experts, a lot of bike park and bike cycling advocacy groups. We met on the site, we walked the site, we looked at everything, we documented all the conditions of the site. Our environmental engineers were there as well. We spent the day out there, and then we came back in here in the evening and had an open public workshop where we had about 75 people show up to talk about the bike
I
park.
remember that.
Overwhelmingly, the response was very positive.
Okay.
We did have three and really two vocal neighbors that were at that meeting that weren't real excited about what we were doing. We spent a lot of time working with them, understanding what their concerns were, documenting those things. We spent the next day back on site figuring out how we could help to mitigate some of those concerns. As you see now, all the real active areas of the park are really towards the southwest side of the
Yeah,
park.
I did notice they were down.
When we started that day, we had a rough sketch conceptually, and really most of that stuff was smack dab in the middle or northern half of the site. And a lot of the trails went close to our property lines. But as we walked it, as we heard their concerns, we started pulling the more active areas south and west. We started pulling the trails in from the perimeter of the site. I went back out and showed the two most vocal members that were at the meeting, the vocal opposition members, what we had done. One is actually, I would say, is in support of the project. The other one, I think I would be fair to say that he is in acceptance of the project now, and he did say he appreciated the changes that we made.
Okay.
So again, we did our best. Before we had that meeting, we actually sent out invitations. I want to say approximately 250 invitations to all the adjoining property owners in that vicinity so that they could come and hear what we were talking about. So I think we've done a good job of trying to take their input and really not just taking it, but listening and revising the plan to listen to their concerns. And again, I think one of those people would like to see nothing happen there, but I think he's accepting the fact that we've done a lot to listen to his concerns, and again, I would say he accepts the idea of what we're doing here. Personally, I think an active outdoor recreation facility, a park like this, I would rather live next to that than a former landfill that over the years we had reports of dumping and other nefarious activities out there. It was also commonly a hunting ground for a lot of people. So again, I think this does provide a better level of neighborliness to the area, similar to, I guess, what the golf course probably did when they came into there. So, I think we're doing our best to be good neighbors. Again, we've pulled the site inward. Yes, we're going to have some events out there, But again, we will do what we can to make sure those events, they're not going to happen, they're not going to happen every day or every week. It's going to be, at most 3 to maybe 6 events a year, and spread out throughout the year. And we'll do our best to make sure those things are also good to our neighbors. We even talked about making sure that we put up signage on the adjoining county roads that make sure people know where to get to the facility, so no one's taking wrong turns and trying to come in a back way. We're also going to fence off the site so that people can't come in off of the private
That was
property
another,
neighbors.
yeah, that was another concern. I had security for the site, so people don't drive things in there. And-
Right.
And another thing, and this is probably jumping a little bit, but every time I drive by there, I look, there's the landfill and here's the trophy club. If the restroom facility does not work out with people going over, I'm a little concerned about that maybe they might put a stop to that. Do we have a plan in place to maybe provide facilities there? I know we can't do septic.
No, well, actually, we could.
We
That's
can
one of the
do
things we
septic?
did work out with IDEM. We can't do septic in the buried trash.
Right, okay.
But along our south line in the southwest corner of the property, there is a couple of acres there that we tested extensively, and there's no trash buried there.
Okay,
So if we had to, we could put a septic field there.
okay.
Again, that's not our plan, but it is an option that would be available to us if we had to. Conveniently, Lebanon Utilities water mains runs through the
Right,
site.
it goes
So
right
we
through
have
there, yeah.
municipal water service on site, so that's not a problem.
Yeah,
But again, when we approached the golf course, and they were very accommodating, I think like a lot of golf courses, they're struggling nowadays and trying to get
True,
people to
true
the golf
that,
courses.
yeah,
So
true
I
that.
think this is just one more way where they're excited about the opportunity of partnering with us, getting more people to their facility, more people in their clubhouse, more people in their restaurant. I think it's a unique opportunity. They've even mentioned, they can see great opportunities where moms and dads come to play golf, and they bring their kids and their bikes with them, and the kids go to the bike park next door. So I've been very pleased, quite shockingly, to be honest, when I first approached them and they said, this is great. I called them assuming I was calling them for the purpose of trying to smooth things over and trying to explain to them how this wouldn't be a bad thing to be their neighbor. We've even called other golf courses that are adjacent to bike parks and bike trails to give them, references of people they could talk to. And, as I said, very excited that their feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Yeah, we've not had any real negative exchanges with the golf course. It's been really pleasing.
okay. That was just a few of the questions I had. I just want to make sure we have all the documentation before the park takes it on because of what we went through with the hot pond. And, we're just getting to the point we can do our major projects, and I don't want our money to end up in something, and, along the line, we'll get through, later into detail on maintenance and things and work with the board and the employees of the park. So,
Absolutely.
but my big concern was that we have written documentation from IDEM, and it's detailed. That was,
Absolutely, and I'd be happy to share with you our adaptive reuse plan that we've submitted. All of the documentation and testing reports are also appendices with that documentation.
Okay.
Happy to share all that with you so you can see the
Okay.
details. But
Okay, yeah.
yes, it's a very extensive project in terms of what is going to be required from a permitting standpoint. But
okay, that would be
again, the
interesting.
response from IDEM has been very positive, very encouraging.
Okay, well, I know you had mentioned they were looking to redo landfill, and I think it's a good project. That was just my one thing that I wanted to make sure, and the contingency plan on. I really hope it works out with the golf course, but I just wondered about the golfers with people coming over, and I didn't, that's why I wanted to make sure we at least have some kind of plan.
Yeah.
And security, the fencing, I'm glad to hear that. So it will be closed off to the public at a certain hour.
Yes, it would be like all of our parks would be operated from dawn to dusk and closed after that. I would envision security cameras being there to
Right,
monitor
correct.
the after-hours activities. And also would envision that regular police and or sheriff patrols, as this is in the county, would be
Right.
something that we'd have to look at.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I got some questions, Kevin.
Sure.
Is this going to be handicap accessible?
Glad you mentioned that. So, of course, we're talking about parks, that is somewhat a challenge. So obviously, though, we will build parking areas and parking spaces that will accommodate handicap accessible vehicles and the people that operate those. But another really unique opportunity that we've had, and I didn't even touch on this, is that we are also, because of the trail design specification from NICA, this actually fits very well into meeting the standards of the groups that talk about adaptive mountain biking. So the trail will be designed to accommodate adaptive mountain bike equipment, the hand cycles, those types of things that people can come out and ride this. We're actually working with a veteran that is an adaptive mountain biking athlete to make sure that our trails and facilities are done to his. There's not any real hard and fast specifications on these things, but so that's why we brought in a gentleman that we've been talking to by the name of Colin Sally, who is an adaptive athlete, and making sure that we're designing a facility that meets his blessing. And
Right.
that's one other opportunity that I haven't even discussed, but the opportunity to talk about adaptive mountain biking here is something we insist on, and we're really excited
Right.
that we will be building this into the parks.
What about, I guess go back to the money more than anything. Our park department does an amazing job with what they have, 160 some acres of land that they, take care of. We're adding another 110 acres.
Sure.
Where's that money coming from? Where is the park department or the park going to be repaid or is going to be compensated? Where's that money going to come from?
Good question. And I couldn't say, I'd be lying to you if I told you I have that all figured out. But I will say that, if we are having 4 to 6 events out there, that it's very common that park facilities that do host these types of events already, and they're hosted at Indianapolis Parks facilities, at Town Run, at Southwest Way. They're hosted at park facilities in Terre Haute through the Vigo County Park System. And almost all of those facilities charge a use fee if someone is going to hold an event in a park. So that is a way that we can somewhat recoup some cost for maintenance. I will also say that of the 110 acres, only a very small portion is going to require active maintenance. So
How much is that, do you know?
I'd have to look at it. We'd really be talking about those areas where we could park overflow parking, and then a small perimeter around the permanent parking areas.
So you think half?
Oh, no, I'd say it's more like 8 to 10 acres of mowing is what would be required. And then there would be some mowing along the trail from time to time. But I will say we're also working with with landscape architects to specify a grass seed that doesn't grow real tall, so that we can minimize how much mowing is required. So
I guess I'm looking at it, obviously, I know a little bit about the upkeep and so forth, and it
Sure.
5 to 6 years ago, $65 an acre was a going rate to cut grass. And, I just want to make sure that we don't go into it in 5-6 months and we're sitting here and we're having to try to come up with money to take care of this park that nobody knows where that money's going to come from.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about it.
In
Not
talking with the bike park designer that we're working with, that actually designed the bike park in Terre Haute, primarily when the park systems in Terre Haute are primarily ran by the Vigo County Park System. I believe they hired one full-time person to help with the maintenance on that park, and then they're supplemented by park employees. And so in talking with the people that operate that park and the people that design that park, who also design our park, that's sort of the rule of thumb they've said is you're probably going to need another full-time employee, and then there'll be some supplementary times with some of the existing employees that you have.
Would this be something that they would need to, like during the winter time like they do now, would that be something that they would be required to go out there and plow the trail?
No, we would never plow the trail.
So how would it be operated 365 days a year?
You'll ride on the snow. Yep. In fact, I've already taken 2 snow rides this year myself, so
what's the liability look like on that? I mean, where's the liability fall in reference, kid goes out there, I guess no different than if a kid's up there playing on the courthouse square and he falls and breaks his leg.
Exactly. A kid, walking around the courthouse wall and falling, or a kid, falling down a slide at one of our existing parks, or getting hit in the head by a swing. Those are all inherent risks with park facilities.
Okay.
I don't think that the risks are any inherently greater with a facility like this, although we have reached out to the city's insurance agent and asked them, and they said basically, given that you already have insurance for your park facilities, the cost to the city for insuring and adding a bike park rider to your policy
minimum
is $600. $600 a year. So it's not a drastic increase in insurance or liability. It's not something I would say, knowing that there are dozens of these trails that are operated by the City of Indianapolis, the state through their state park systems, other communities, big and small, throughout the state have mountain bike trails. It's not something that you have to get a waiver signed before you ride. Obviously, we'll have to post some signs that you're riding at your own risk. But again, primarily our trail system is designed for those novice level riding. So this is not extreme, Red Bull racing. This is something that is a lot more tamer than that.
Well, I went to the first meeting, and I mean, it definitely was quite surprising, the amount of people that were for it and the amount of people that had a lot of heart for it. And I mean, I think it's a great idea. But I mean, I'll just be honest, I'm concerned about the money. I'm concerned where it's going to come from. I'm concerned the fact that, as Lori said, we don't even have anything from IDEM that's signed or saying, yes, go for it. I mean, I guess I just don't want to get the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
And it worries me a little bit in regards to,
Understood.
how much we're putting on the Parks Department to take care of this, and I would agree.
And I don't want to speak for them. I guess John could maybe address his concerns.
We've discussed that. I mean, I think that you're probably a little more, probably 2 people to take on. I mean, you're looking at 110 acres. I understand you're not going to be doing something every day there.
Right.
But, 110 acres is a lot of ground to take care of. And I would think 2 people, you're going to look at another truck, you're going to look at least another more, maybe 2. There's another $30,000, in equipment.
Sure.
25, 30 for a truck, you're at 60. I mean, I'm just looking at it again, I want to make sure, I'm all for it, I really am, but I want to make darn sure that we know where is the money coming from that the park department is going to be able to maintain this park.
Yeah.
And not just something in the sense of, it needs to be mowed, go mow it.
Right.
And that unfortunately has been the past. It's, if something needs to be done, you go and, you got to go do this. You got to go, we need to be reimbursed for that.
Yeah.
And I personally, up until the last year or so, I don't think that's been done.
Well, I mean, I don't think we operate any parks, you know, on a cash positive situation. Obviously, we're not reimbursed for maintaining our parks today. You know, what I mentioned earlier about charging fees for those events, please don't construe that as I was saying that they will pay for all the maintenance. It is some small way that might defray some costs. But again, you know, I don't think any of our park systems are operated as a money-making venture today. You know, it's something we do to add the quality of life, but not to minimize your concerns. Obviously, you're right, it's 110 acres. Yes, the majority of it will be required to be left native.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there is some mowing. From time to time, there may be some breaking of the trail system, some watering of the trail system. I also will point out that, you know, when we met with the Hoosier Mountain Bike Association, they maintain all the trails for the city of Indianapolis. They also maintain all the trails on state property. So all the trails in Brown County, Fort Harrison, dozens of state parks throughout the state. They've also mentioned an interest in helping to maintain. I don't want to tell you that they will take over the maintenance of this facility, although that is a possibility. I think, you know, what they would possibly be interested in maintaining the trail, but they probably wouldn't be interested in doing the mowing around the trail. I think that would fall on our park system. But there is another entity there that would help to defray some of the cost and some of the skill sets that are specific to how we maintain bike trails.
Yeah, like I said, I'm all for it. I am not against it whatsoever, but in some aspects, I think we've just got the cart before the horse on a couple of things, and I just want to make sure that we know what we're getting into as a park commission or a park board. And I mean, I guess if all that's worked out and you know, there's some place where that money's going to be coming from, and we're not going to, you know, look at $40,000 or $50,000 that we're going to have to come up in operating, you know, funds to take care of this, or, you know, let's not do something that we normally do because now we have the, you know, this to do.
Understood.
So, I mean, I'm concerned about the money. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm just saying, I'm concerned, you know, where's that going to come from?
Yeah. No,
Because, I mean, you can't do it, you can't get it from the taxes, correct? I mean, we can't.
Can't get it from taxes?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we can is it something that we can operate and pull from the general fund?
Well, I mean, all of our money for operating our park systems comes from taxes, comes from tax revenue.
But this is a little different, isn't it? I mean, isn't this, I mean.
I don't think it's necessarily really any different. You know, it would just be a park like any other park facility that, you know, would have some specific maintenance requirements, but I would say the bulk of the maintenance requirements are not unlike what we do today, mowing and raking and taking care of tree trimming and things of that nature. So I think other than maybe some specific skills related to maintaining these bike-specific things, it's primarily, you know, green space care. It's primarily, you know, lawn care and park care that we are very good at doing. You know, but I would have to defer to John as to what costs are, what he feels the reality would be on cost for maintaining the park, and defer to him on those things. You know, from a larger picture, also finance-wise, a couple of things. We've now have got verification that money that is in our sanitation fund that used to operate the landfill, that has collected money over the years and never been spent. We now can confidently say that could be used for this park, so it's not.
How much is in there?
There's roughly $1 million in that account. Total park budget is $1.4 million right now. We'll see what happens as we get the final comments from IDEM on if they need anything additional. But you know, it's not a real expensive you know, infrastructure project from that standpoint. And with $1 million on hand that could be used there, and be doing per items requirements, would definitely be part and parcel to why that sanitation fund was set up. We are also heavily going after grant funds for the development of the park. Probably to date, we've already submitted roughly $300,000 in grant funds. from everything from an Indiana Destination Development Grant to other bike-specific grant opportunities that we're also chasing. Not to mention corporate sponsorships with different bike manufacturers. We have a confirmation now that Bicycle Garage Indy now is a partner. We got their letter of interest and intent today with their financial donations as well as their donations and promotion of the park.
Are you allowed to disclose what you have brought in so far in regards to
Yeah,
donations or
Happy to, yes.
companies that have
Today,
thrown money in the hat?
we've received, including the Bicycle Garage donation and some other small donations, we've received some of them as little as $50 from local families. We've received roughly $15,000, and we've also received another $40,000 in donated in-kind services, primarily from engineering and landscape architecture firms that are working with us to develop the project. And, and then we are, I can't disclose anything further, but we are actively talking with some major bike component manufacturers that are very excited about what is happening here and very much want to support it. So again, I think the infrastructure costs are really going to work their way out. Again, $1.4 million budget. We've got $1 million in a fund. I don't want to get, again, the cart before the horse because the council has to appropriate that money, but it is what I see as a funding opportunity that doesn't take any capital away from your current capital parks projects.
Do we have to do anything with the county on this? I mean, is the county even involved with it being in the county? It is in the
yeah.
county, correct?
Yeah, it is in the county. It is not within city limits. So we are actively working through development, site-related permits with the county. We've made submittals to the county. We've not seen anything official back from them. We're waiting on some official response to the project. But yes, we're actively working with the county, and we'll comply in any way we need to with the county's technical requirements.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions for Kevin?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Sorry to take up so much time, but
Thank you, Kevin.
we're all real excited about this, so appreciate it.
Learned a lot, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
My apologies to Kevin for not following up and having him at the meeting. It's great that he, did you ride your bike down here? No, but as far as that goes, Kevin's passionate about it, as you can see. He knows the process inside and out. He's worked very hard. I don't know, Lori, you've been in on Zoom meetings. I'd say we have, 20 emails a week coming from Kevin about this since February. So he's very passionate, and
He
you
is.
can see that he really cares about it. I think Deb Schmucker, if you have any more questions for her, but I think we need a motion to go forward with amending this as part of the parks, correct? Is that, I'll let you.
Whether that happens now or after you get your item.
Yeah, or the IDEM, whatever, yeah, that's
I
up
would,
to him.
I mean, not that I don't believe him, but I would like to see everything from IDEM and from the county before we move forward with that amendment to the master plan. That would be my motion right now.
I would agree.
So
I would second that.
tabling this, okay.
Just tabling the amendment until we receive all the information that we went through this evening. Does that work for you, Kevin? Okay. Just to give us,
Okay.
I don't want another hot pond. I hate to keep saying that. But yeah, I would just like to see all that. I'm glad that you're as far with that with IDEM as you are. So if we could see that in response from the county, then
What do you think timing is on that, Kevin?
February 16th?
We are expecting to hear from the state on February 16th.
Right.
Again, we checked in week before last. They said that no major issues have came up so far, and they are just working on their response to our submittal. So, you know, again, I agree with you, let's not put the cart before the horse, but I don't see any red flags because we spent so much time working with them before we made our submittal. The county, we're waiting to hear. We've not seen any technical comments. We have reviewed their planning ordinances. We view this as the use that seems to fit most likely is a recreational facility. I think it's pretty obvious that this is a recreational facility, and per their ordinance, we are actually in a residential zoning district. Per their ordinance, municipally owned resident or recreation facilities are permitted by right. So we've submitted all that information to the county. They have not yet responded there, but I think it's pretty clear. If you look up all the land use definitions, the only one that fits is recreational facility, which is a facility, you know, built for active outdoor recreational uses and enjoyment. I think that's pretty clear. That's what we're trying to construct. Obviously, it is city-owned, and their land use tables say that in the residential district of R2, municipally owned recreation facilities are permitted by right. So we don't see this as requiring any kind of zoning approvals, but we will obviously comply with any technical approvals, including, you know, landscape plan approvals, drainage approvals. Drainage calculations have already been submitted to their consultant and are being reviewed. I checked in with them today. I'm expecting to hear back tomorrow. So again, we'll address any technical issues that come up with the county. We've committed that to them, and we feel as though from a zoning standpoint, this is a publicly owned recreation facility, it's permitted by right, and so IDEM is really the only thing that we're really actively working on.
And I meant to ask this, and I'm sorry, but it was on my mind. So will we have to do anything in regards to the entrance and exit off of 52, with it being a state road? I mean, is that something that...
Yes.
I mean, is that something we're going to have to also go to and get that approved and get the okay for that? And do you see any issues in that being...
No, we've been working with our engineering consultants on that. The things that are going in our favor is there is an existing entrance. So there's an existing right-of-way cut on US 52. There's actually an existing median cut, so you can turn left or right into the facility. So we will improve the entrance that is there today and make no major revisions to the location of that. And our engineers tell us that actually that level of permit from the state is an administrative level approval, doesn't require any hearings or anything of that nature. It's just a modification to an existing entry.
Right. I just didn't know if you had to
Yeah, the state, once they're reviewed.
go through the red tape as far as, you know.
The good thing that it's existing means that we're not going to have to do traffic analysis to prove that it's going to be safe. We're just going to be fortifying and improving an existing, what is really like a farm entrance.
Entrance, exit.
Yeah. There's a gate out there, so you can see where the entrance and exit is.
Okay, thanks for your answers.
Deb's going to grab her computer there.
Okay,
We had a motion and a second on the table though, right?
yeah, I made a motion to table this until we receive all the information from the IDEM and the county. And John
I second.
seconded. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so we'll just wait to hear from you, Kevin, and then do all that. Thank you, it was a very nice presentation, and thank you, Deb.
Nothing like a last minute there, Kevin. I do apologize for that too. Yeah, he got down here quick.
Kevin knows this by heart. How many of these have you done, Kevin?
We're, I could tell you,
You've got it
we're all
down.
really excited from John's office to the mayor's office and mine, so, we think this is a really great opportunity for the city. I've made a lot of presentations, especially as we're actively also looking at fundraising for the project, trying to defray costs from the city, if not eliminate all costs. So, yeah, we have the opportunity to talk about it quite a bit.
It was a very nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that environmental company that he's working with, ATC, helped us out with the hot pond, the 3.5 years that we worked with that. They're top notch. And Lori, you've been in on those Zoom meetings with the architect, engineer. They're top of the line, and this is pretty unique too because we're building from the ground up, and there aren't a lot of those, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, I think we probably, in new business too, now we probably should have election of officers
Okay, yeah,
before we go to
the
the
next-
director's report.
The next item on the agenda is election of officers. If anyone wants to make any nominations. Presently, I'm president, Diane is vice president, and Karen is secretary.
I make the motion that we keep the slate of officers, if that's what we want to call it, the same, other than for Karen. And I nominate Jessica for secretary if she's willing to take it.
I accept.
That's my motion.
Okay, I have a motion to retain the president, vice president, and I have a nomination for Jessica for secretary.
Can we do it that way?
That works for me.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay, John, now the director's report.
All righty, again, I want to thank Deb and Kevin for their presentation and their hard work in everything that we've done. We haven't met since November, or let me see, December, so this will be, I'll make it quick as I can, but starting off, the fireworks on New Year's were a big hit. Thanks to Lebanon Parks Foundation. I hope you got to see it. If you didn't see it live, you could have watched it virtually. Real short, we couldn't do our 100th year celebration with the Park Foundation. They had a band lined up, night swim, fireworks, food vendors. Anyway, that didn't work out, so they went ahead and thought let's get our 2020 gone and start 2021 with a big bang, and it was well received. I want to thank the foundation for that. Christmas lights and scenes have all been taken down and stored away for next year. We've replaced the fluorescent light fixtures in the park office and have moved to the efficient LED light fixtures. We're continuing to deep clean our maintenance facilities, office, all equipment, along with maintaining repairs and maintenance. The picnic tables have been repaired, placed with new wood, create better and sturdier tables. They're again working in the cabin, doing all kinds of work in the cabin on the restroom. You just got to see it. We'll have more work done on an outside source coming up and when the weather breaks. But the guys, we have a lot of skills in our parks department, just to say the least, and it looks neat. I don't know if they've watched some of those old log cabin shows, but man, it looks great. Really nice. On December 28th, we held a recertification class for our lifeguards, which we recertified 9 of our summer employees. That was nice. Noah, a past employee, helps us out with that, and he's certified or can certify all the lifeguards. Saves us a lot of money, especially in research. That's on us, on the Parks Department. The hiring process has started for our 2021 season. We'll be hiring part-time lifeguards and concession stand work employees. Open interviews were held on January 30th. That last Saturday, we had more than 15 employees or interviews on the 30th. We also had a lot of employees come in and get their new packets. Every year you have to re-sign all your paperwork, which is really thick. So we impact the clerk's office. We appreciate all their help there. We also have February 13th, more open interviews from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Really appreciate the staff on doing that. Really nice to have all those people come in. There was a 45-minute wait at one point in time, and they stayed around, and we had some really nice interviews. I think all the way from Westfield, Carmel, just to name a few, Western Boone, Lebanon, Tri-West, and Crawfordsville. Really nice for them to come in. We've updated our website to show our new shelter names as well as updated weather policy for Seashore Water Park. Our new shelter names are now Cedar Shelter, Maple Shelter, Memorial Shelter, which is in Memorial Park, all those, Oak Shelter and Pine Shelter, both in Abner Longley Park, and Sycamore Shelter in Hot Pond. As you can, John knows, they're all named after trees. We will have new signage. We just need to identify them better, and I think it'll be a lot easier on our website for people to go with different shelter names. For our 2021 pool parties, we would like to require a 50% deposit at the time of booking. We had quite a few that last minute would stop, and then we'd have lifeguards scheduled, but we'd lose that income, and there are people that really would want to rent, so we're trying to get some skin in the game with a 50% deposit. A lot of other parks departments do it, so we had an aqua conference, aquatics conference, and that's some of the things that we picked up. So I'd like your permission to go ahead and go forward with that. I don't know if we need a motion or...
Are we leaving the pool prices the same?
Yes, all the pool prices are the same, yes. And there again, pool passes, we aren't going to go forward with that due to the COVID. We just don't know what's going to happen. They could shut it down. I know some people are upset with it, but it just tended to work out. I think we'll probably still be at half capacity this coming summer. We just don't know and don't want to put it out there. So, we'll just keep going the same direction. Current and upcoming programs, our virtual snowman building contest is still going on until February 22nd. So, thanks to this last snowfall, we had a bunch of, I think, 15 or 20 that came in that next day, which is great. We hadn't had a whole lot of snow up till then. Please submit your snowman pictures to parks@lebanon.in.gov, and the winner will be announced on February the 23rd. We're in the process of planning a spring scavenger hunt to take place in March. This will hopefully be an opportunity for people to get out and enjoy the nice weather while exploring the city. We also have pickleball leagues that you can sign up for right now. Pretty excited about that. Allison's got several other ideas that she's working on. Some park updates. DLZ Engineering to develop the Big Four Trail from downtown through Abner Longley Park. I discussed that at the start of our meeting. They do great work. Worked with them quite a bit, and just that'll help us with that grant process too if it comes through. Cabin restoration. There again, the guys worked really hard on the inside in preparation for our restoration on the outside. We have log doctors that will be coming as soon as the weather breaks, probably around April or May. And they need at least a week to come in there and do a lot of restoration with chinking and just all kinds of other, some sills and such. It'll really look nice, already does on the inside. Lighting project, we're working with the lighting of Memorial Park. That's part of the monies that the council set aside. Going forward with that. Asphalt, already lined it out for the spring also. There again, Triangle Asphalt's going to do quite a bit of work. We've already prepared to we took the fence down and prepared to roll the bleachers back. That's going to be quite a feat in itself, but the guys are up to it. Billy and has already prepared that. Playground improvement, you probably saw the front page of the Reporter with both those things. We're going to tear down the concession stand. We're taking bids now for demolition of the concession stand. We could do that in-house, but I think it's going to be more cost-effective and have professionals do that anyway. Already have one bid in, and very pleased with the price of it. Now, the Conservation Club, we're trenching at the back there to install our fountain like we have at the Hot Pond. I think that'll help with some of the issues that we've had over there with the pond. But as far as that, the utilities also, we're working with them to help us put a transformer in there once we get all the trenching taken care of. One other thing would be the transfer of property that we did at the last meeting with the utilities. That's passed through the council, where we're trading property That's moving forward. They'll be marking the part of Abner Longley Park there to start the process of the water plant. They'll be marking trees, so if you see some paint on trees down there, we'll have to remove a couple, which they're willing to replace and give us monies for a lot more trees to go in there, whatever makes us happy. That'll be starting, but we have to have all the trees down by April 1st. That's a DNR because of the bat habitat. You can't take down trees in the environment like that because of the bats, and they are protected. So that's pretty much everything I had. There's a book that I set around. It's kind of our log. Just gives you an update of what we do on a daily basis. That's kept by the maintenance. Caleb Skanks takes care of that along with Billy. Do an outstanding job. As you can see, we don't say no to a lot of things. If we're asked to do it, we take it on, and they do a great job. I think everything's gone really well. You saw the cost of our last snow here. It was quite expensive, but there again, I think I'm still recouping. I'm not as young as I used to be, and they just do a really good job. I think downtown is quite a feat. Obviously, when our trail expands, we'll be doing more. We take care of the sidewalk all the way from Memorial Park all the way down, or the trail all the way down to downtown. Take care of all the roads downtown and everything you see in front of all the stores, all the way up to the wall of the courthouse. So the guys really do a great job. Can't say enough about all their hard work.
I wanted to make a comment.
That's all I had, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment. I was very, very pleased with what I saw as far as Uptown Billy. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I've done it for years and years, and it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, you guys just go in there, you have the system, you know what you're doing, there's nobody standing around, you're in, you're out, and I mean, that's the way it should be. And when I was uptown, can't remember the morning, must have been Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, it
That's
looked
heavy
really good.
snow, and a lot of that is
Heavy snow.
hand shoveling.
Yeah.
We don't get a we don't get a plow.
Yeah, well, I mean,
other than
there
the road,
there was comments in a negative way in certain,
Yeah.
and I just want to make it known that I thought that the street department and the parks department did an awesome job this
Thank
last
you.
snow, because I'm telling you,
Thank you.
it was a heavy snow.
It was very heavy.
And if you've never went out and actually shoveled snow, you have no way of commenting.
Even plowing was hard. And
It was.
Downtown,
Yeah.
we can't use metal blades. We have to use
Yep.
rubber blades. We can't use the ice that they use on the street, or the salt
salt.
that they use. We have to use ice
Ice melt.
It doesn't melt as well as the salt, so.
As quick.
It's a little slower,
Yeah.
and you have to put a lot more down, but.
Well, they did an amazing job, and like I
Thank you.
said,
Pass that
the
on.
street department as well. I mean, both departments did an awesome job during the last
Agreed.
snow.
And about the time we learn what we're doing and getting a real good rhythm, we're done for
Yeah.
9 months.
Well, I think you're gonna get another chance come Saturday and
That's what I
Sunday,
hear.
so.
Gonna be cold, too.
4.8 inches will give you another
I'm
chance.
going to enter the snowman contest.
And that's all I had. Any questions or anything?
Oh, thank you for all you're doing.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if everybody's had an opportunity to look at the claims, I entertain a motion to approve the claims.
Make a motion, we approve the claims?
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. If there's nothing else to come before the board this evening, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.